Stewards of Wildlife is a conservation organization that utilizes resources both here in our home state of Texas and throughout the world to benefit animal welfare and see thriving, sustaining herds of animals survive for eternity.
The propagation of threatened, endangered species is really the focus of the Stewards of Wildlife.
The benefit that we bring to the table that a lot of conservation organizations don't have is that we physically own the asset, and the asset that I'm talking about is the animals. And not only do we have a few of these animals, but we have large sustaining breeding herds of these animals.
We started the ranch 15 years ago, and what we came to realize very quickly was that because of our location in South Texas and because of the terrain and the fauna, we were able to raise some very special species. And when I talk about special species, these are species that are pretty well extinct in the wild. Scimitar horned oryx, the addax, the dama gazelle, amongst others. That really grew, from those three species, it really grew out into what we have now today, which is over 80 species, 20 of which are threatened, endangered, or extinct.
Stewards of Wildlife has long been a safe haven for a variety of species, including both common species as well as over 25 different threatened, endangered, or extinct in the wild species. For quite some time, we have been considering adding another endangered species to the property, the reticulated giraffe. Though the reticulated giraffe does not currently fall under the endangered classification by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, it is believed that within the next few years they will be, as their numbers are dwindling. The reticulated giraffe is a subspecies of giraffe native to the Horn of Africa. It lives in Somalia, southern Ethiopia, and northern Kenya, and there are an estimated 8,500 individuals living in the wild. Still, while their numbers shrink in the wild, captive populations in the United States thrive. As a matter of fact, along with the Rothschild giraffe, the reticulated giraffe is the most common giraffe found in zoos. Our decision to bring these magnificent animals to our property was made much like all of our decisions are. By raising, breeding, caring for, and protecting these animals at Stewards of Wildlife, we are not only creating new genetic diversity to be used as a seed vault for the decreasing wild population, we are also expanding the number of captive populations housing these animals, thus effectively not allowing all our eggs to be in one basket. As with all new species we bring to the property, we must first take an in-depth look at how to properly care for the animals. Fortunately for us, many of our close friends and partners have been raising, breeding, and caring for reticulated giraffes successfully for many years. After determining we not only have the ability to care for and protect these gentle giants, but we also have an ideal habitat to house them in, we decided to take our first step into the world of giraffes. The process did begin slow though. In late 2016, we began our giraffe herd with a lone 2-year-old male, Samson. Though our goal has always been and will always be to have breeding herds of these animals so that we can increase genetic diversity as well as individual numbers, Samson began his time with us alone. It was an unfortunate timing issue. After purchasing Samson, we could not immediately find any females that were ready for a new home. And by the time we did, we were going into winter, and we did not want our new giraffes to have to transition into a new home in inclement weather. So we held off, and Samson weathered the winter alone. But as soon as the weather started to brighten in early 2017, we purchased our first 2 female giraffes, Sophie and Acacia.
she came out.
Yeah, she came out.
Sophie came to us as a baby, not fully weaned and still needing to be bottle raised for a few months, and Acacia, though weaned, was not much older. This in itself caused another unfortunate situation, as it was very clear that Samson had grown so quickly he now dwarfed the two females. Though giraffes generally do not reach sexual maturity until 3 to 4 years of age, our concern was not only breeding, but even Samson playing with the females at his size could seriously injure them. The decision was to keep them separated for a year through another winter until the females could catch up in size a little bit to Samson. However, although the females are separated, it is only by a fence, and Samson does have the ability, as he is taller than the fence, to interact with the females with the safety of a barrier in between them. As a matter of fact, when Samson is not roaming around the large open pasture, eating weesach and mesquite, he can often be found at the ladies' fence giving kisses and rubbing necks over the fence. When it is time to let the females and Samson live without barriers, he will certainly not be a stranger. And what's more is we now have added yet another female to the herd. Samson has introduced himself to all 3 ladies, and he seems very eager for the barriers to be gone. Due to their young age, it may take a while for Stewards of Wildlife to see our first baby giraffe born. But the decision to begin a breeding herd of giraffes was not a short-term one. We will continue to grow our breeding herd, both through breedings as well as introducing new individuals from other sources here in the United States. As a matter of fact, we already have our sights set on a second giraffe to add to the herd, a male who will live in the pasture with the rest. With our live giraffe camera, which can be accessed on our website 24/7, and our new giraffe feeding platform currently being constructed, we plan on these majestic creatures to be a keystone species for Stewards of Wildlife for a very, very long time.